Today I'll be looking at Haida filters 150 series. Hi everyone, it's Grant from Two Stop Images. Today I'll be looking at 4 filters and the 150mm filter holder from Haida Filters, who were kind enough to send me all these filters to try out. As you can see, the filters come in these metal boxes which are foam padded to keep your filters in good condition. The first filter I have here is the ND 4.5, which is a 15 stop ND filter. The second one I have is a square circular polarizing filter, which looks very nice. Number 3, what do we got here? A 1.8 ND, which is a 6 stop ND filter. And the last one I have, let's see what we have, is a 0.9 ND filter, which is a 3 stop ND filter. And all the filters look very nice. They're all coated, so they should give you good image quality. I've also got the 150mm filter holder for the Tamron 15 to 30mm lens. Just before we go out in the field to shoot a few test images, I'll just show you how to put the holder onto the lens. So you first take the lens off. That's the front filter thread, which has the little nodules on the inside which fit in the grooves in your lens pedal hood. So you pop that on there, turn it upside down, grab the inner thread, and then that just screws in like so. Comes up tight, which is very sturdy. You grab your lens holder itself, which has a little white arrow on the outside, and the filter thread itself has another little white arrow there. So you just line those up and it pops on. You give it a turn and then lock the thumb screw. And the thing I like about this is that it has the rear sleeve, so the filter holder can't pull off the end of your lens. I've had a couple of other brands that just have thumb screws on the side, and if you don't do them up tight enough, the whole thing will just fall off, so you're going to break your filters. But that's very nice. And pop the lens back on, turn that round straight, and that's how it sits. I've also got a 77mm adapter, which I got to use on my 70 to 200mm lens, or any lens that has a 77mm filter thread on the front. I'll just pull one filter out and see how it inserts into the holder. So this is the 1.8 6 stop lens, 6 stop filter, sorry. Oh, one other thing I forgot to mention, that the filter holder itself has a rubber gasket rather than having a rubber gasket on the filter. So that's a good idea. Pop it in and it slides straight in like that. Beautiful. So now we might just pop out in the field and I'll take some test images and we'll bring them back into the studio and I'll pop them on the computer and we'll see how the images turned out. Okay, so here we are. I've just driven up into the mountains to a place called Wild Bull Recreation Reserve, and you can hear the river. There's a river just down through there, so we'll go down there and take a few shots. So I've
come for a drive up to this awesome looking place up in the mountains. It should be a great spot to try out the neutral density filters and the polarizer. With the waterfalls, we can do some long exposures. Okay, so here we're just set up a little waterfall. There's no filters at all on the lens itself at the moment. So I'll just pop in the circular polarizer filter and we'll have a look what effect it has. So you can see it loses about 1.5 stops of light there, so I'll just compensate. Bring the exposure back up. Now I'll turn the filter and we'll see what it does. So you can see it takes the glare off the rocks in the water.
So after being rained on and getting soaking wet, I'm now back at home. I've loaded some test images that I took of this nice little waterfall into the computer. We've got them up on Photoshop and we'll have a look. So this first shot has no filters at all and is straight out of camera. We can see that there's quite a bit of glare on the surface of the water and around these rocks here. There's a small amount of motion blur here where the water's coming downhill, but pretty much everywhere else the white water has been frozen by the fast shutter speed. Also, there was a fair amount of wind blowing on the day, so all these leaves were blowing around, but the faster shutter speed has also frozen that. So we'll have a look at the shot now with a circular polarizer and we'll see what a difference that made. So a pretty dramatic difference. We can see it's taken pretty much all of the glare off the surface of the water. There's small amounts here and there, but it's made a dramatic difference. You can see almost all of the rocks on the bottom of the stream. It's also dropped the shutter speed down from the original image, which was 1/80th of a second, and it's dropped it down to 1/25th of a second, so we can see a bit more movement in the water by the motion blur. Also in this area here you can see the white water has started to blur as well. It's also taken the glare off the leaves and made the colours more vibrant, so that's a pretty dramatic difference in itself. So this next shot is with the circular polarizer as well as the 3-stop neutral density filter. So we'll have a look at this one. And again, it's made a huge difference by lowering the shutter speed again to 0.3 of a second. So now you can really start to see the movement of the water in this area here. Also the leaves blowing in the wind, it's blurred the leaves and it gives it quite a good effect. Also colours are more saturated. Even the rocks over here, they're not so grey. You've got some nice colour coming out of the rocks and everything's remained pretty sharp. There's no lack of sharpness. I can't see any vignetting around the edges. Looks pretty good to me. Now we'll go to the shot with the circular polarizer and a 6-stop neutral density filter. So this is the 6-stop ND with the polarizer still attached, and we can really start to see the movement of the water now because the shutter speed has now been dropped to 6 seconds, which is quite a difference. It gives it kind of a ghostly effect, especially with the leaves. Still very sharp, can't see any degradation in the image at all, no vignetting around the edges, very nice. Because I got rained on, I couldn't really spend any more time up in the mountains, so I went down to the beach the next day with the 15 stop ND and took a couple of seascapes. We'll have a look at those now. So this shot here is at my local beach, no filters at all, so we can see the ocean. The waves have been frozen by the faster shutter speed, which was 1/200th of a second. Also the clouds are frozen, so everything's pretty sharp there. And then I popped on the 15 stop ND, which gave me a shutter speed of 82 seconds. So we'll have a look at that image. And that's made a huge difference. You can see now the water looks like silk. Can't see the waves at all. It's smoothed the sky right out. There's a slight bit of vignetting around the edges, but with this 15 stop ND, that's pretty hard to get away from. I've used quite a few brands of filter. They all have a vignetting problem up beyond, say, 10 stops, but I think on the whole that's pretty good. Pretty easy to get rid of in Photoshop as well. We have a look around here. The rock is just as sharp as the previous image. No color cast. The rock actually stays the same, exactly the same color when I switch from one image to the other. So all in all, that's a pretty nice result by all the filters. So we go from original shot, 6 stop with a polarizer. Original shot, 15 stop. So what's my thoughts on Haida filters?